Question 1. A Scrum team has just completed its sprint retrospective. Which of the following is the primary outcome of this event? A. A refined product backlog ready for the next sprint planning. B. A done increment ready for release. C. A list of improvements for the team's process to be implemented in the next sprint. D. An updated sprint backlog reflecting the team's progress. Answer: C. A list of improvements for the team's process to be implemented in the next sprint. The sprint retrospective is a key event in Scrum dedicated to inspection and adaptation, focusing on the team's process, tools, and interactions. Its primary outcome is a set of actionable improvements that the team commits to implement in the upcoming sprint, enhancing their effectiveness and quality of work. For example, if the team found communication was lacking, they might decide to implement a daily 15-minute sync specifically for impediments. This continuous improvement mindset is vital for Agile teams to evolve and deliver better. Question 2. During a sprint, a team member identifies a significant technical dependency that was not previously known. What should be the Scrum Master's immediate action? A. Instruct the team member to resolve the dependency independently. B. Add the dependency as a new item to the product backlog. C. Facilitate a discussion with the team and relevant stakeholders to assess the impact and plan for resolution. D. Escalate the issue directly to senior management for a decision. Answer: C. Facilitate a discussion with the team and relevant stakeholders to assess the impact and plan for resolution. When a significant technical dependency emerges, the Scrum Master's role as a servant leader is to facilitate problem solving, not to dictate solutions or immediately escalate. They should bring the right people together, the development team, potentially the product owner, and affected stakeholders, to discuss the issue's impact, explore options, and collectively decide on the best course of action to mitigate the dependency. This approach leverages the team's expertise and promotes collaborative problem solving, ensuring transparency and alignment. Remember, the Scrum Master helps remove impediments by enabling the team to address them. Question 3. What is the primary purpose of creating an elevator statement in an Agile project? A. To provide a detailed breakdown of all project requirements. B. To define the project's overall budget and financial constraints. C. To quickly and concisely articulate the project's vision, target audience, and key benefits. D. To document all identified risks and their mitigation strategies. Answer: C. To quickly and concisely articulate the project's vision, target audience, and key benefits. An elevator statement is a brief, persuasive pitch that explains the project's purpose and value in a way that anyone can understand in a short amount of time, like an elevator ride. Its primary purpose is to quickly align stakeholders on the project's vision, target users, and the unique value proposition it offers, ensuring everyone understands why the project exists. For instance, for busy professionals who need to manage their time effectively, our new app is a mobile productivity tool that provides intuitive task management and calendar synchronization, unlike traditional planners, helping users reclaim their time and reduce stress. This clarity helps keep the team focused on delivering genuine value. Question 4. In an Agile project, when should a project manager or Scrum Master typically update the project schedule and budget? A. Only at the beginning of each project phase. B. At the end of the project, during closure. C. Continuously throughout the project as more information becomes known. D. Weekly, regardless of new information. Answer: C. Continuously throughout the project as more information becomes known. Agile projects embrace iterative and incremental delivery, which means planning is not a one-time event but an ongoing process. The project schedule and budget are progressively elaborated, meaning they are refined and adjusted continuously as the team learns more about the product, customer needs, and technical challenges. This adaptive approach ensures that plans remain realistic and relevant to the evolving project context, fostering flexibility rather than rigid adherence to initial estimates. Always remember that agility thrives on continuous feedback and adaptation, not fixed upfront plans. Question 5. A product owner is struggling to prioritize the product backlog effectively due to conflicting stakeholder demands. What technique would be most helpful for the product owner to use in this situation? A. Critical Path Method, CPM. B. Earned Value Management, EVM. C. Moscow Prioritization. D. Fishbone Diagram. Answer: C. Moscow Prioritization. Moscow Prioritization is an agile technique used to classify requirements into 4 categories: must-have, should-have, could-have, and want-have. This method helps the product owner and stakeholders collaboratively identify the most critical features that must be included for the product to be viable, thereby providing a clear framework for managing conflicting demands and ensuring the delivery of core value. For example, a must-have feature for an e-commerce site might be the ability to add items to a cart, while a could-have might be advanced search filters. It brings structure to backlog management, helping the team focus on delivering the highest value first. Question 6. What is the primary benefit of cross-functional teams in an agile environment? A. They allow for more specialized individual contributions. B. They reduce the need for daily communication. C. They possess all the necessary skills to deliver value without external dependencies. D. They streamline the handoff process between different departments. Answer: C. They possess all the necessary skills to deliver value without external dependencies. Cross-functional teams are a cornerstone of agile methodologies, meaning that the team collectively has all the competencies and expertise required to complete the work from beginning to end without relying on external groups or individuals for critical tasks. This self-sufficiency minimizes handoffs, reduces delays, and enhances collaboration and shared ownership within the team, leading to faster and more efficient delivery of valuable increments. For instance, a cross-functional team might include developers, testers, and UX designers, enabling them to complete a feature from design to deployment. Empowering the team to own the entire delivery process is a key tenet of agility. Question 7. A Scrum team finds that its sprint velocity is consistently fluctuating, making it difficult to forecast future sprints. What could be a contributing factor? A. The product owner is frequently changing the sprint goal during the sprint. B. The development team is consistently adding new members. C. The Scrum Master is effectively removing impediments. D. The sprint retrospective is being conducted regularly. Answer: A. The product owner is frequently changing the sprint goal during the sprint. A stable sprint velocity relies on a consistent workload and a clear, unchanging sprint goal within a sprint. If the product owner frequently changes the sprint goal or adds significant new items during the sprint, it disrupts the team's focus, forces replanning, and makes it challenging for the team to complete their committed work, directly impacting their observed velocity. This instability makes future forecasting unreliable because the team's capacity and focus are constantly shifting. Maintaining a stable sprint goal helps the team focus and achieve predictable velocity. Question 8. In an agile context, what does "done" mean for a product backlog item? A. The item has been coded and committed to the version control system. B. The item has been reviewed by the product owner. C. The item meets all criteria defined in the team's definition of done and is potentially shippable. D. The item has been tested and all bugs have been logged. Answer: C. The item meets all criteria defined in the team's definition of done and is potentially shippable. The definition of done, DoD, is a crucial agreement within an agile team, particularly in Scrum, that defines the quality standards and completeness required for a product backlog item to be considered done. This comprehensive definition typically includes coding, testing, integration, documentation, and any other activities necessary to make the increment truly releasable and usable by the customer. For example, a DoD might state, code reviewed, unit tested, integrated, and acceptance criteria met. This shared understanding ensures transparency, quality, and incremental delivery of working software. Question 9. Which of the following best describes the concept of servant leadership in an agile environment? A. The leader makes all decisions and directs the team's work. B. The leader focuses on serving the team's needs, removing impediments, and fostering their growth. C. The leader dictates the technology stack and architecture. D. The leader ensures strict adherence to the project schedule and budget. Answer: B. The leader focuses on serving the team's needs, removing impediments, and fostering their growth. Servant leadership is a leadership style where the leader's primary goal is to serve the team and its needs, rather than focusing on personal power or control. In an agile context, this means the Scrum Master or Agile leader empowers the team, removes obstacles, impediments, coaches them, facilitates self-organization, and supports their professional development. For example, a servant leader might help the team acquire necessary training or negotiate with external stakeholders to clear a blocker. This approach fosters a trusting and productive environment where the team can thrive and deliver value independently. Question 10. A project manager is transitioning from a traditional waterfall project to an agile project. What fundamental change in mindset will be most critical for success? A. Shifting from detailed upfront planning to adaptive planning and continuous feedback. B. Prioritizing cost control over stakeholder satisfaction. C. Focusing solely on individual contributions rather than team collaboration. D. Adhering strictly to fixed scope, time, and cost baselines. Answer: A. Shifting from detailed upfront planning to adaptive planning and continuous feedback. The most significant shift when moving from waterfall to agile is the embrace of adaptive planning over predictive, detailed upfront planning. Traditional projects attempt to define the entire scope, schedule, and budget upfront, while agile projects recognize that requirements evolve and plans must be flexible. Agile emphasizes iterative delivery, learning through feedback, and continuously adjusting plans based on new information, allowing for greater responsiveness to change and value delivery. For instance, instead of a one-year plan, Agile might focus on a 3-month roadmap with detailed 2-week sprint plans. This flexibility is key to managing complexity and uncertainty effectively. Question 11. Which Agile principle emphasizes the importance of direct communication over extensive documentation? A. Individuals and interactions over processes and tools. B. Working software over comprehensive documentation. C. Customer collaboration over contract negotiation. D. Responding to change over following a plan. Answer: A. Individuals and interactions over processes and tools. The first value of the Agile Manifesto, individuals and interactions over processes and tools, highlights the belief that effective communication among team members and stakeholders is more valuable than rigid processes or overly detailed documentation. While documentation is not eliminated, Agile prioritizes face-to-face conversations, quick sync-ups, and shared understanding to convey information efficiently and prevent misunderstandings. For example, a quick huddle to clarify a requirement is preferred over a lengthy email chain. This emphasis on human connection fosters better collaboration and faster problem-solving. Question 12. What is a common way for an Agile team to measure its progress and predict future work completion? A. Calculating the Cost Performance Index, CPI. B. Creating a detailed work breakdown structure, WBS. C. Using burn-down or burn-up charts. D. Developing a comprehensive Gantt chart. Answer: C. Using burn-down or burn-up charts. Agile teams frequently use burn-down charts, showing remaining work over time, or burn-up charts, showing completed work over time, to visualize their progress toward a sprint goal or a larger release goal. These charts provide a clear, real-time indicator of the amount of work remaining and the rate at which the team is completing it, aiding in forecasting and allowing for quick adjustments if the team deviates from its planned trajectory. For example, a burn-down chart for a sprint would show the ideal work remaining line decreasing to 0 by the end of the sprint. These visual tools promote transparency and facilitate quick decision-making. Question 13. A product owner is about to lead a sprint review. What is the primary goal of this event? A. To plan the work for the upcoming sprint in detail. B. To inspect the increment and adapt the product backlog if needed. C. To discuss and plan improvements to the team's process. D. To resolve impediments faced by the development team. Answer: B. To inspect the increment and adapt the product backlog if needed. The sprint review is a collaborative event where the Scrum team presents the done increment of the product to stakeholders, demonstrating what was accomplished during the sprint. The primary goal is to gather feedback, inspect the progress, and collaboratively adapt the product backlog for future sprints based on new insights and market conditions. For example, stakeholders might see a new feature and suggest modifications, which the product owner would then consider for the backlog. This transparency and feedback loop are crucial for ensuring the product evolves to meet actual user needs and maximize value. Question 14. Which of the following is a characteristic of a potentially shippable increment in Scrum? A. It is a partially completed feature that requires further development. B. It is a comprehensive documentation set for the product. C. It is a fully functional, tested, and usable piece of software that meets the definition of done. D. It is a prototype or mock-up used for user feedback. Answer: C. It is a fully functional, tested, and usable piece of software that meets the definition of done. A potentially shippable increment, often just called increment, in Scrum refers to the sum of all product backlog items completed during a sprint and the value of increments of all previous sprints. It must be in a usable condition and meet the Scrum team's definition of done, meaning it is thoroughly tested, integrated, and ready to be released to users at any time, even if the product owner chooses not to release it immediately. For instance, if a sprint delivered a login feature, it means the login functionality is fully working and bug-free. This ensures that value is consistently built upon and always in a releasable state. Question 15. What is the primary role of the Scrum Master in facilitating the daily Scrum? A. To lead the discussion and assign tasks to team members. B. To ensure the development team conducts the meeting and keeps it within the time box. C. To report progress to the product owner and stakeholders. D. To resolve all impediments identified during the meeting. Answer: B. To ensure the development team conducts the meeting and keeps it within the time box. The daily Scrum is a self-organizing event for the development team to synchronize activities and plan for the next 24 hours. The Scrum Master's primary role during this event is not to lead or assign tasks, but rather to facilitate the team's self-organization by ensuring they understand the purpose of the meeting, keep it time-boxed to 15 minutes, and stay focused on progress toward the sprint goal. For example, the Scrum Master might gently remind the team if they start deviating into problem-solving discussions that should occur outside the daily Scrum. The Scrum Master helps the team make the most of this crucial daily sync. Question 16. An Agile project team is struggling with frequent changes in requirements. Which of the following Agile approaches directly addresses this challenge? A. Detailed upfront requirements gathering. B. Fixed-price contracts with change order processes. C. Iterative development with continuous feedback loops. D. Comprehensive risk management plans. Answer: C. Iterative development with continuous feedback loops. Agile methodologies are inherently designed to embrace and manage change, unlike traditional approaches that try to minimize it. Iterative development allows the team to deliver small, functional increments, gather rapid feedback from stakeholders and users, and then incorporate that feedback into subsequent iterations. This continuous feedback loop ensures that the product evolves to meet changing requirements and market needs, reducing the risk of building the wrong thing. For example, after releasing a feature, user testing might reveal a better way to implement it, which can be addressed in the next iteration. Agility thrives on learning and adapting. Question 17. Which of the following best describes the concept of minimum viable product, MVP? A. A product with the minimum number of features required to pass security audits. B. The cheapest possible version of a product that can be built. C. A product with just enough features to satisfy early customers and provide feedback for future product development. D. A prototype or mock-up used solely for internal team review. Answer: C. A product with just enough features to satisfy early customers and provide feedback for future product development. A minimum viable product, MVP, is a strategy used in agile product development that involves releasing a version of a new product with only the core features necessary to provide value to early adopters and gather validated learning about customer needs. Its purpose is to test a product idea with minimal resources and quickly gather feedback for iteration and improvement, rather than building a full-featured product that might not be desired. For example, the first version of an online bookstore might only allow users to search for books and add them to a cart, without advanced features like recommendations or reviews. An MVP is about learning quickly and efficiently. Question 18. What is the primary responsibility of the product owner concerning the product backlog? A. To manage the technical implementation details of the backlog items. B. To ensure the product backlog is ordered, transparent, and clear to all. C. To estimate the effort required for each backlog item. D. To resolve conflicts within the development team regarding backlog items. Answer: B. To ensure the product backlog is ordered, transparent, and clear to all. The product owner is singularly responsible for maximizing the value of the product resulting from the work of the development team. This includes the crucial responsibility of managing the product backlog, ensuring it is clearly expressed, ordered to maximize value, and transparent to all stakeholders, especially the development team. For example, the product owner might prioritize features based on business value, technical dependencies, and market demands. They act as the voice of the customer and business, guiding the team's efforts towards the most impactful work. Question 19. An agile team is experiencing frequent external interruptions, disrupting their focus during a sprint. What agile concept aims to protect the team from such distractions? A. Sprint goal. B. Daily Scrum. C. Scrum Master's role as a shield. D. Definition of done. Answer: C. Scrum Master's role as a shield. One of the key aspects of the Scrum Master's servant leadership role is to act as a shield, or buffer, for the development team. This means protecting the team from external interference, unnecessary meetings, and distractions that could prevent them from focusing on completing their sprint backlog items and achieving the sprint goal. For example, if a stakeholder frequently tries to directly assign work to a developer, the Scrum Master would intervene to redirect the request through the product owner. This protective role ensures the team can maintain focus and productivity, fostering a high-performing environment. Question 20. What is the purpose of conducting a release planning session in an agile project? A. To define the detailed scope for the entire project upfront. B. To determine which product backlog items will be included in the next product release and estimate the release date. C. To conduct a comprehensive retrospective after a product launch. D. To create a detailed, fixed budget for the entire project. Answer: B. To determine which product backlog items will be included in the next product release and estimate the release date. Release planning in agile projects is a higher-level planning activity that typically spans multiple sprints. Its purpose is to select a set of product backlog items that will constitute a meaningful, shippable product release and to establish an estimated release date based on the team's velocity and capacity. For example, a product owner might decide that 3 to 5 major features will be included in the next quarterly release, and the team will estimate how many sprints that might take. This provides a roadmap and helps manage stakeholder expectations for upcoming product value delivery. Question 21. Which principle from the Agile Manifesto suggests that the best architectures, requirements, and designs emerge from self-organizing teams? A. Customer collaboration over contract negotiation. B. Working software over comprehensive documentation. C. The most efficient and effective method of conveying information to and within a development team is face-to-face conversation. D. Build projects around motivated individuals. Give them the environment and support they need, and trust them to get the job done. Answer: D. Build projects around motivated individuals. Give them the environment and support they need, and trust them to get the job done. This Agile Manifesto principle directly supports the concept of self-organizing teams, implying that when individuals are motivated, empowered, and provided with the necessary support and autonomy, they are best positioned to determine how to do their work most effectively. This includes evolving designs, refining requirements, and structuring architecture, as opposed to having these dictated by external entities. For example, instead of a project manager assigning specific coding tasks, the development team collectively decides how to break down and implement a user story. Trusting the team to innovate and make decisions leads to better outcomes and fosters a sense of ownership. Question 22. In Kanban, what is the primary purpose of limiting work in progress, WIP? A. To ensure that team members are always busy. B. To reduce multitasking, focus on finishing work, and improve flow. C. To create a backlog of tasks for future sprints. D. To increase the number of projects the team can handle simultaneously. Answer: B. To reduce multitasking, focus on finishing work, and improve flow. Limiting work in progress, WIP, is a core principle in Kanban, designed to prevent overburdening the team and to optimize the flow of work. By restricting the number of items that can be in progress at any given time, the team is encouraged to focus on completing existing tasks before starting new ones, reducing context switching, identifying bottlenecks more quickly, and ultimately improving throughput and predictability. For instance, if the WIP limit for in progress is 3, the team cannot pull a fourth task until one of the current 3 is moved to done. This focus on stop starting, start finishing is fundamental to flow-based systems. Question 23. What is the recommended duration for a sprint in Scrum? A. Typically 3 to 4 months. B. As short as possible, usually 1 to 4 weeks. C. No fixed duration, it varies with each task. D. Determined by the project manager based on complexity. Answer: B. As short as possible, usually 1 to 4 weeks. Scrum mandates that sprints, also known as iterations, have a consistent, fixed duration, typically ranging from 1 to 4 weeks. The goal is to keep them as short as possible while still allowing the team to deliver a done increment of product functionality. Shorter sprints provide faster feedback loops, reduce complexity, and enable quicker adaptation to change, thereby minimizing risk. For example, a team might choose 2-week sprints to ensure they get frequent customer feedback. Consistency in sprint length helps the team establish a rhythm and improve predictability. Question 24. A stakeholder requests a significant change to a feature that is currently in development within a sprint. How should the Scrum team ideally handle this? A. Implement the change immediately to satisfy the stakeholder. B. Reject the change, as sprints are immutable. C. Ask the product owner to discuss the change with the stakeholder and determine if it's critical enough to replan the current sprint or add to the product backlog for a future sprint. D. Add the change to the sprint backlog without further discussion. Answer: C. Ask the product owner to discuss the change with the stakeholder and determine if it's critical enough to replan the current sprint or add to the product backlog for a future sprint. Once a sprint has started, its scope, sprint backlog, should ideally remain stable to allow the development team to focus on delivering the sprint goal. While changes are inherent in Agile, significant changes should be discussed and managed by the product owner, who prioritizes the product backlog. If the change is truly critical and impacts the sprint goal, the product owner might negotiate with the development team to terminate and restart the sprint, or more commonly, the change would be added to the product backlog to be considered for a future sprint. This process ensures changes are managed thoughtfully and don't derail current work, maintaining the sprint's integrity. Question 25. Which of the following is a key responsibility of the product owner in facilitating stakeholder collaboration? A. Approving all team members' vacation requests. B. Presenting the project's financial reports to the board. C. Engaging stakeholders, soliciting feedback, and ensuring their needs are represented in the product backlog. D. Managing the team's daily stand-up meetings. Answer: C. Engaging stakeholders, soliciting feedback, and ensuring their needs are represented in the product backlog. The product owner acts as the primary bridge between the development team and the stakeholders, representing the voice of the customer and business. A key responsibility is to continuously engage with stakeholders, gather their input, understand their needs, and ensure these are clearly reflected and prioritized within the product backlog. For example, the product owner might hold regular meetings with key users to understand their pain points, which then translate into user stories. This continuous collaboration ensures the team is building the right product and maximizing value for all involved. Question 26. What is the primary purpose of a spike in Agile development, particularly in XP or Scrum? A. A quick, unplanned meeting to discuss an urgent issue. B. A short, time-boxed research or exploration effort to reduce uncertainty. C. A small, self-contained feature that can be delivered quickly. D. A critical bug fix that needs immediate attention. Answer: B. A short, time-boxed research or exploration effort to reduce uncertainty. A spike is a small, time-boxed investigation or research activity undertaken by the development team to gain knowledge, explore technical options, or reduce uncertainty before committing to a larger piece of work. For example, if the team isn't sure which database technology would be best for a new feature, they might dedicate a few days to a database spike to prototype and evaluate options. The outcome is typically knowledge, which helps refine estimates and inform future design decisions, rather than a shippable product increment. Spikes are crucial for managing technical risk and ensuring informed decision-making. Question 27. An Agile team uses a Kanban board. What does it visually represent? A. The organizational hierarchy of the project team. B. The project's budget allocation across different departments. C. The workflow and the current status of work items as they move through different stages. D. The detailed resource allocation plan for the next quarter. Answer: C. The workflow and the current status of work items as they move through different stages. A Kanban board is a visual management tool used to depict the workflow of a team or project, showing the various stages of work, e.g., to do, in progress, testing, done, and the current status of each work item. Its purpose is to visualize the flow of value, identify bottlenecks, and facilitate continuous improvement. For example, a task card moving from analysis to development to testing to done clearly shows its progression. This transparency helps the team understand where work is, how it's flowing, and where improvements can be made. Question 28. What is the primary focus of the Agile Manifesto's value, working software over comprehensive documentation? A. Eliminating all forms of documentation from a project. B. Prioritizing functional software that delivers value over extensive, possibly unused, paperwork. C. Ensuring that all software code is self-documenting. D. Replacing verbal communication with detailed written specifications. Answer: B. Prioritizing functional software that delivers value over extensive, possibly unused, paperwork. This Agile Manifesto value does not advocate for no documentation, but rather for prioritizing the delivery of functional, valuable software over generating excessive or unnecessary documentation. It suggests that while documentation has its place, its value is secondary to the tangible delivery of working product features that can be demonstrated and used. For example, a working mobile app is more valuable than a 200-page requirements document for an app that hasn't been built yet. The emphasis is on efficiency and delivering real value to the customer sooner. Question 29. During a sprint, the development team realizes they cannot complete a product backlog item they committed to. What should they do first? A. Inform the product owner immediately to discuss the implications and options. B. Try to work overtime to complete the item regardless of quality. C. Drop the item from the sprint backlog without informing anyone. D. Ask the Scrum Master to assign the task to another team. Answer: A. Inform the product owner immediately to discuss the implications and options. Transparency and adaptation are key in Scrum. If the development team realizes they cannot complete a committed item, their first action should be to transparently communicate this to the product owner. Together, they can discuss the implications for the sprint goal and explore options such as de-scoping the item, moving it back to the product backlog, or making other adjustments to the sprint backlog. For example, they might decide to complete a smaller, higher-value portion of the item instead. This collaborative approach ensures that challenges are addressed proactively and stakeholders are kept informed. Question 30. Which technique is commonly used in Agile to estimate the relative size and complexity of user stories? A. 3-point estimating. B. Earned value management. C. Planning poker. D. Critical chain method. Answer: C. Planning poker. Planning poker is a widely used Agile estimation technique where team members use numbered cards, often Fibonacci sequence, like 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, etc., to estimate the effort or complexity of user stories. Each team member plays a card simultaneously, revealing their estimate at the same time. Any significant discrepancies prompt a discussion to understand differing perspectives, leading to a shared understanding and a more accurate collective estimate. For example, if one person estimates a 5 and another a 20, they would discuss why. This technique promotes collaboration and consensus in estimation. Question 31. What is the primary purpose of a definition of ready door for a product backlog item? A. To define when a product can be released to the market. B. To ensure all team members are available to work on a specific item. C. To establish criteria that a product backlog item must meet before it can be pulled into a sprint. D. To confirm that a feature has passed all user acceptance tests. Answer: C. To establish criteria that a product backlog item must meet before it can be pulled into a sprint. While not a formal part of Scrum Guide, many Agile teams use a definition of ready door as an agreement that specifies what conditions a product backlog item must satisfy before the development team considers it ready to be worked on in a sprint. This might include criteria like clear acceptance criteria, estimated, or dependencies identified. For example, a user story might not be ready until it has been refined in collaboration with the product owner and is small enough to fit within a sprint. The door helps ensure the team has enough clarity to start work effectively and avoid mid-sprint interruptions due to ambiguity. Question 32. An Agile team is conducting a sprint retrospective. The team identifies that they are frequently interrupted by support requests. What action should the Scrum Master encourage? A. Ignore all support requests during the sprint. B. Establish a specific point person for support requests outside the sprint team. C. Allocate a portion of the sprint capacity for support work in future sprints. D. Document all interruptions and report them to senior management. Answer: C. Allocate a portion of the sprint capacity for support work in future sprints. The sprint retrospective is about continuous improvement. If frequent support requests disrupt the team, a practical improvement is to allocate a portion of the team's capacity in future sprints specifically for handling such interruptions. This acknowledges the reality of support work and plans for it, making the team's capacity estimates more realistic and reducing the ad hoc impact on their sprint goal. For example, the team might decide that 10% of their next sprint will be dedicated to addressing urgent bugs. This allows for planned flexibility rather than reactive disruption. Question 33. What is the concept of technical debt in Agile development? A. The cost of purchasing new development tools. B. The accumulation of design or code that is suboptimal and makes future development harder and slower. C. The financial investment in employee training. D. The outstanding payments to external contractors. Answer: B. The accumulation of design or code that is suboptimal and makes future development harder and slower. Technical debt refers to the deferred cost of choosing an easy, but potentially less optimal, solution now instead of a better approach that would take more time. It's like taking a shortcut in code or design that saves time in the short term but accumulates interest in the form of increased complexity, difficulty in adding new features, or more bugs in the long term. For example, quickly implementing a feature without proper error handling might save time now but leads to frequent system crashes later. Agile teams aim to manage and address technical debt proactively to maintain software quality and team velocity. Question 34. How does an Agile approach typically handle changes in project scope compared to a traditional waterfall approach? A. Changes are strictly prohibited once the project begins. B. Changes are managed through a formal change control board with extensive documentation. C. Changes are embraced, and the product evolves through continuous feedback and adaptation. D. Changes are only allowed at major project milestones. Answer: C. Changes are embraced, and the product evolves through continuous feedback and adaptation. A core tenet of Agile is responding to change over following a plan. Unlike traditional waterfall, which attempts to lock down scope up front and makes changes costly and difficult, Agile methodologies recognize that requirements will evolve. They embrace change as an opportunity to deliver a better product by using short iterations, frequent feedback loops, and continuous adjustment of the product backlog, ensuring the product remains relevant to evolving needs. For example, if market research reveals a new critical feature is needed, an Agile team can quickly incorporate it into the next sprint. This adaptability is a key strength of Agile. Question 35. What is the primary purpose of the product vision in an Agile project? A. To outline the specific technical architecture of the product. B. To describe the long-term strategic goal and purpose of the product. C. To list all the features to be delivered in the next release. D. To detail the project's financial projections for the next 5 years. Answer: B. To describe the long-term strategic goal and purpose of the product. The product vision is a high-level, overarching statement that articulates the desired future state of the product, its ultimate purpose, the problems it solves, and for whom. It provides a guiding star for the entire project, aligning the team and stakeholders on the why behind their work, even as specific features and requirements evolve. For instance, a product vision might be to become the leading platform for connecting remote workers with collaborative projects. It offers direction without prescribing the exact path, allowing flexibility in execution. Question 36. Which Agile framework emphasizes inspect and adapt as its core pillars? A. Kanban. B. Scrum. C. Extreme Programming, XP. D. Lean software development. Answer: B. Scrum. Scrum is explicitly founded on empiricism, which means making decisions based on what is observed and experienced rather than on elaborate upfront plans. The 3 pillars of empiricism in Scrum are transparency, inspection, and adaptation. Transparency ensures visibility, inspection involves checking progress towards sprint goal and agreed outcomes, and adaptation means adjusting processes or product based on what's inspected. For example, during the sprint review, the increment is inspected, and the product backlog adapted. During the sprint retrospective, the process is inspected and adapted. This continuous cycle of learning and adjustment is fundamental to Scrum's success. Question 37. What is the benefit of pair programming in extreme programming, XP? A. It significantly reduces the number of developers needed for a project. B. It increases code quality, knowledge sharing, and reduces defects. C. It allows developers to work independently without interruption. D. It primarily serves as a training method for junior developers. Answer: B. It increases code quality, knowledge sharing, and reduces defects. Pair programming, a core practice in extreme programming, XP, involves two developers working together at one workstation on the same code. One writes code, driver, while the other reviews and guides, navigator. This collaboration leads to higher code quality through continuous review, immediate knowledge sharing between team members, and a reduction in defects because errors are often caught as they are made. For example, one developer might identify an edge case while the other is coding. It enhances team cohesion and collective code ownership. Question 38. A Scrum team has completed its sprint and identifies that the sprint goal was not fully met. What is the most appropriate action? A. Extend the sprint duration to complete the remaining work. B. Carry over the unfinished work to the next sprint and discuss lessons learned in the retrospective. C. Immediately start a new sprint with the same sprint goal. D. Cancel the sprint and redo the sprint planning. Answer: B. Carry over the unfinished work to the next sprint and discuss lessons learned in the retrospective. If a sprint goal is not met, the most appropriate action is to carry over any unfinished product backlog items to the next sprint or reprioritize them in the product backlog. The team should then discuss in the sprint retrospective why the sprint goal wasn't met and identify process improvements to prevent it from happening again. Sprints have a fixed time box, so extending them is not allowed. For example, if a user story wasn't quite done, it goes back to the product backlog to be re-estimated and reprioritized. This allows for continuous learning and adaptation without compromising the sprint structure. Question 39. What is the primary purpose of a value stream map in lean and agile contexts? A. To identify the financial value of each product feature. B. To visually represent the flow of materials and information required to deliver a product or service, highlighting waste. C. To map out the organizational hierarchy of a company. D. To track individual team member performance metrics. Answer: B. To visually represent the flow of materials and information required to deliver a product or service, highlighting waste. A value stream map, VSM, is a lean management technique used to visualize the entire process of delivering a product or service from beginning to end. Its primary purpose is to identify and analyze all steps in the value stream, distinguishing value-adding activities from non-value-adding activities, waste, and pinpointing opportunities for improvement in flow and efficiency. For example, a VSM for software development might show delays in code review or waiting for environment setup as waste. It helps teams see the bigger picture and optimize their overall delivery process. Question 40. In an Agile project, when should customer feedback be incorporated? A. Only at the final product release. B. Only during the requirements gathering phase. C. Continuously throughout the project lifecycle. D. Only if a major problem is identified. Answer: C. Continuously throughout the project lifecycle. Agile methodologies fundamentally emphasize continuous customer collaboration and feedback. Feedback is not a one-time event but an ongoing process, incorporated at various points such as sprint reviews, daily interactions, and user acceptance testing. This continuous feedback loop ensures that the product evolves based on real user needs and market insights, allowing for adaptation and course correction early and often. For example, after each sprint, customers can provide feedback on the latest increment, guiding the next iteration. This responsiveness is key to delivering high-value products. Question 41. What is the most common reason for conducting a Sprint Zero in Scrum? A. To perform all the necessary upfront architecture and infrastructure setup before the first development sprint. B. To allow the team to take a break before starting actual development. C. To finalize the project budget and contracts. D. To conduct user training for the final product. Answer: A. To perform all the necessary upfront architecture and infrastructure setup before the first development sprint. While not a formal Scrum event, the Sprint Zero, or Release Zero, is sometimes used informally to denote an initial, time-boxed effort to set up the foundational elements required before the team can start delivering business value in regular sprints. This can include activities like establishing the development environment, setting up continuous integration, basic architectural decisions, or initial product backlog creation. For example, ensuring the version control system is in place and accessible for all developers. It helps ensure the team is ready to hit the ground running with product development. Question 42. Which of the following is a key characteristic of an Agile contract? A. It is highly detailed, fixed price, and includes severe penalties for scope changes. B. It focuses on clearly defined upfront scope and timelines, with minimal flexibility. C. It emphasizes collaboration, flexibility, and value delivery over rigid scope and fixed requirements. D. It transfers all project risks from the buyer to the seller. Answer: C. It emphasizes collaboration, flexibility, and value delivery over rigid scope and fixed requirements. Agile contracts are designed to support the iterative and adaptive nature of Agile projects, moving away from traditional fixed-price, fixed-scope agreements. They encourage collaboration between buyer and seller, allowing for flexibility in scope as requirements evolve, often focusing on delivering value incrementally rather than adhering to a rigid upfront plan. For example, a time and materials contract with a clear exit strategy or a target cost with shared savings/pain is more agile. The goal is to build a partnership that can respond to change and prioritize mutual value. Question 43. What is the primary purpose of a sprint goal in Scrum? A. To provide a detailed list of all tasks to be completed in the sprint. B. To define the specific revenue targets for the product in the sprint. C. To provide a cohesive objective for the sprint, linking the sprint backlog items together. D. To measure the individual performance of the development team members. Answer: C. To provide a cohesive objective for the sprint, linking the sprint backlog items together. The sprint goal is a short, overarching statement agreed upon during sprint planning that defines the objective of the sprint. It provides guidance and focus to the development team, giving them a purpose beyond just completing individual product backlog items. For example, instead of just implement login, a sprint goal might be enable users to securely access their accounts. It helps the team remain focused and make trade-offs when needed to achieve the sprint's overall purpose, and it encourages flexibility in how the work is completed. Question 44. What does the term emergent design mean in an Agile context? A. Designing the entire system upfront before any coding begins. B. Designs that appear suddenly without any prior planning. C. The practice of allowing designs to evolve iteratively and adapt to new information over time. D. The use of advanced design software for creating user interfaces. Answer: C. The practice of allowing designs to evolve iteratively and adapt to new information over time. Emergent design in Agile means that the detailed design of a system is not fully defined upfront but rather evolves and emerges iteratively throughout the project lifecycle. As the team builds increments of functionality and gains new insights from feedback and learning, the design is continuously refined and adapted. For example, instead of designing every database table up front, the team designs only what's needed for the current sprint's features, then evolves the schema as new requirements emerge. This approach prevents upfront over-engineering and allows for more flexible and effective solutions. Question 45. Which Agile metric is most useful for forecasting when a large body of work, e.g., a release or project, might be completed? A. Cycle time. B. Lead time. C. Team velocity. D. Individual task completion rate. Answer: C. Team velocity. Team velocity is a key Agile metric that measures the amount of work, typically in story points or ideal days, a development team can consistently complete in a single sprint. By observing the average velocity over several sprints, the team and product owner can use this empirical data to forecast how many sprints it will take to deliver a larger set of features or a release. For example, if a team consistently completes 30 story points per sprint, and a release backlog has 150 points, they can estimate it will take 5 sprints. It provides a reliable basis for future planning. Question 46. What is the purpose of a big visible chart in an Agile project? A. To document highly sensitive project information for management. B. To provide a transparent and easily accessible visual representation of project progress and status. C. To create detailed architectural diagrams for developers. D. To track individual team members' performance against targets. Answer: B. To provide a transparent and easily accessible visual representation of project progress and status. Big visible charts, BVCs, are information radiators in Agile, such as burn-down charts, Kanban boards, or task boards, displayed prominently in the team's workspace. Their purpose is to provide immediate, transparent, and easily digestible information about the project's progress, challenges, and overall status to the entire team and interested stakeholders without needing to ask for updates. For example, a physical task board with sticky notes clearly showing "to do," "in progress," and "done" tasks allows anyone to see the current state of work. This transparency fosters shared understanding and self-organization. Question 47. A product owner is struggling with stakeholders who frequently demand new features without considering their impact on existing priorities. What advice should the Scrum Master give? A. Reject all new feature requests immediately. B. Encourage the product owner to involve stakeholders in backlog refinement sessions to understand prioritization trade-offs. C. Tell the product owner to simply add all requests to the bottom of the backlog. D. Suggest that the product owner create a separate backlog for unapproved features. Answer: B. Encourage the product owner to involve stakeholders in backlog refinement sessions to understand prioritization trade-offs. The Scrum Master should coach the product owner on how to effectively engage stakeholders in the prioritization process. Involving stakeholders in product backlog refinement sessions allows them to gain a deeper understanding of the existing priorities, the effort involved in new features, and the trade-offs that must be made. For instance, explaining that adding a new high-priority feature means delaying another feature helps stakeholders appreciate the impact of their requests. This collaborative approach fosters transparency, builds consensus, and helps the product owner manage expectations more effectively. Question 48. Which of the following best describes the principle of sustainable pace in Agile development? A. Working at maximum capacity for the entire project duration. B. Maintaining a consistent, long-term pace of work that is achievable and does not lead to burnout. C. Delivering the product as quickly as possible, even if it means working excessive hours. D. Limiting the project's budget to ensure cost-effectiveness. Answer: B. Maintaining a consistent, long-term pace of work that is achievable and does not lead to burnout. The Agile principle of sustainable pace emphasizes that teams should work at a consistent, comfortable rate that they can maintain indefinitely without sacrificing quality or leading to burnout. This approach ensures that the team remains productive, energized, and capable of consistently delivering high-quality increments over the long term, rather than suffering from periods of intense crunch followed by exhaustion. For example, avoiding excessive overtime and planning realistic workloads for each sprint supports a sustainable pace. It's about long-term productivity and team well-being. Question 49. In Scrum, who is primarily responsible for deciding how to turn the product backlog items into an increment? A. The product owner. B. The Scrum Master. C. The development team. D. The project manager. Answer: C. The development team. The development team is self-organizing and cross-functional, meaning they have the autonomy and collective expertise to decide how to best accomplish the work to meet the sprint goal. While the product owner defines what needs to be built, the product backlog items, the development team determines how to build it, including the design, implementation, and testing strategies. For example, they decide on the technical approach and assign tasks amongst themselves during sprint planning. This empowerment fosters ownership and leverages the team's collective intelligence. Question 50. What is a user story in Agile, and what is its primary purpose? A. A detailed technical specification document for a feature. B. A short, simple description of a feature told from the perspective of the user, primarily used for planning and understanding value. C. A log of all reported software bugs. D. A diagram illustrating the system's architecture. Answer: B. A short, simple description of a feature told from the perspective of the user, primarily used for planning and understanding value. A user story is a common way to express product backlog items in Agile. It's a concise, informal description of a software feature written from the perspective of an end user or customer, typically following the format as a type of user, I want, some goal, so that, some reason. Its primary purpose is to facilitate conversations, understand user needs, and estimate work, not to serve as a detailed specification. For example, as a customer, I want to reset my password so that I can regain access to my account. User stories foster a shared understanding of value. Question 51. An Agile team decides to conduct a charter to kick off a new project. What is the main purpose of this activity? A. To assign individual tasks to each team member. B. To formally authorize the project, define its purpose, vision, and high-level scope. C. To create a detailed financial forecast for the project. D. To review the performance of the previous project. Answer: B. To formally authorize the project, define its purpose, vision, and high-level scope. In an Agile context, a project charter serves a similar purpose to its traditional counterpart but with an Agile twist. It formally authorizes the project, establishes its purpose, vision, and high-level boundaries without getting bogged down in exhaustive detail. It aligns stakeholders on the fundamental why and what before diving into iterative development. For example, a charter might define the problem being solved, the target market, and the desired business outcomes, providing a foundational understanding for the Agile team to then progressively elaborate. It sets the stage for Agile execution. Question 52. Which of the following best describes the cone of uncertainty in project management? A. A diagram showing the different types of project risks. B. A graphical representation of how project uncertainty decreases over time as more is learned. C. A method for estimating project costs in Agile. D. A framework for managing stakeholder expectations. Answer: B. A graphical representation of how project uncertainty decreases over time as more is learned. The cone of uncertainty illustrates that at the beginning of a project, uncertainty about requirements, estimates, and solutions is high, leading to broad estimation ranges. As the project progresses and more work is done, knowledge increases, and uncertainty decreases, allowing for more precise estimates. Agile methodologies embrace this concept by performing iterative development and continuous feedback, reducing the cone's width faster than traditional methods. For example, an initial estimate might be plus or minus 75%, but after a few sprints, it might narrow to plus or minus 10%. It reminds us that early estimates are inherently less accurate. Question 53. What is the concept of information radiators in an agile environment? A. Devices that emit project-related signals. B. Physical or digital displays that provide readily visible and up-to-date project information to the team and stakeholders. C. Tools used for broadcasting team meeting minutes. D. Specialized software for managing project documentation. Answer: B. Physical or digital displays that provide readily visible and up-to-date project information to the team and stakeholders. Information radiators are highly visible displays in an agile workspace, or virtual equivalent, that present critical project information at a glance, allowing anyone to quickly understand the project's status, progress, or key metrics without having to ask. Examples include Kanban boards, task boards, burn-down charts, or team metrics displayed on a monitor. For example, a burn-up chart showing completed features helps everyone see if the project is on track. They promote transparency, shared understanding, and self-organization by making information passively available and easily digestible. Question 54. An agile coach is working with a new team struggling with self-organization. What action is most appropriate for the coach? A. Take over leadership and assign tasks directly to team members. B. Provide clear, prescriptive instructions on how to complete all tasks. C. Facilitate discussions, ask guiding questions, and offer tools to help the team discover their own best ways of working. D. Report the team's lack of self-organization to senior management. Answer: C. Facilitate discussions, ask guiding questions, and offer tools to help the team discover their own best ways of working. An agile coach's role is to enable and empower the team, not to control them. When a team struggles with self-organization, the coach should act as a facilitator and mentor, guiding them through the process of problem-solving and decision-making themselves. This involves asking powerful questions, offering relevant tools or techniques, and removing impediments, thereby helping the team develop its own capabilities. For example, instead of telling them what to do, the coach might ask, "What steps could we take to distribute tasks more evenly?" This fosters long-term self-sufficiency. Question 55. What is the primary purpose of a retrospective in Agile, beyond just Scrum's sprint retrospective? A. To punish team members for past mistakes. B. To document historical project decisions for audit purposes. C. To reflect on past work, identify what went well, what could be improved, and create actionable plans for improvement. D. To evaluate individual team member performance. Answer: C. To reflect on past work, identify what went well, what could be improved, and create actionable plans for improvement. Retrospectives, whether sprint level or project level, are critical agile ceremonies focused on continuous improvement. Their primary purpose is for the team to pause, reflect on their processes, interactions, and tools, openly discuss what worked and what didn't, and then collaboratively commit to specific, actionable improvements for future work. For example, after a release, a team might hold a retrospective to discuss communication challenges and decide to implement daily stand-ups for cross-functional teams. This dedication to learning and adapting is central to Agile success. Question 56. What is the primary output of a sprint planning meeting in Scrum? A. A done increment. B. A revised product backlog with new features. C. A sprint goal and a sprint backlog. D. A list of identified risks and mitigation strategies. Answer: C. A sprint goal and a sprint backlog. Sprint planning is the first event of a sprint where the entire Scrum team collaborates to define the sprint goal, what they intend to achieve in the sprint, and create the sprint backlog, how they will achieve it, by selecting product backlog items and detailing the work. The development team pulls items from the product backlog and breaks them down into actionable tasks during this meeting. For example, the team might agree on a goal like enable secure user authentication and then list the specific tasks needed to achieve that. This plan guides their work for the upcoming sprint. Question 57. An Agile team is experiencing analysis paralysis, where too much time is spent discussing and documenting requirements without starting development. What Agile principle could help overcome this? A. Customer collaboration over contract negotiation. B. Working software over comprehensive documentation. C. Individuals and interactions over processes and tools. D. Responding to change over following a plan. Answer: B. Working software over comprehensive documentation. Working software over comprehensive documentation directly addresses the issue of analysis paralysis by emphasizing the importance of delivering tangible, functional software quickly. Instead of getting bogged down in endless discussions and documentation, this principle encourages the team to build a working increment, get feedback, and iterate. For example, rather than documenting every possible error message up front, the team builds the core feature, then uses user feedback to refine error handling in subsequent iterations. This bias towards action and delivery helps avoid over-analysis. Question 58. How do Agile teams typically handle quality assurance and testing? A. Quality assurance is performed only by a separate, independent testing team at the end of the project. B. Testing is integrated throughout the development lifecycle by the entire team. C. Quality is ensured by relying solely on automated testing tools. D. Testing is optional and depends on project budget. Answer: B. Testing is integrated throughout the development lifecycle by the entire team. In Agile, quality is a shared responsibility, and testing is not a separate phase at the end but an ongoing activity integrated throughout the entire development lifecycle, often as part of the definition of done. This means developers, testers, and other team members collaborate on testing activities, including unit tests, integration tests, and acceptance tests, ideally as early and frequently as possible. For example, a developer might write tests before even writing the code, test-driven development. This continuous approach ensures higher quality increments are built from the start and defects are caught early. Question 59. What is the concept of Kanban in an Agile context? A. A project management framework with fixed-length iterations and specific roles. B. A method for visualizing work, limiting work in progress, and maximizing efficiency or flow. C. A technique for estimating the effort of user stories. D. A specific meeting held at the end of each iteration to review progress. Answer: B. A method for visualizing work, limiting work in progress, and maximizing efficiency or flow. Kanban is an Agile method focused on visualizing the workflow, limiting the amount of work in progress, WIP, and managing the flow of value through the system. It is highly adaptable and can be used independently or to complement other Agile frameworks. Unlike Scrum's fixed sprints, Kanban focuses on continuous flow, pulling work only when capacity is available. For example, a Kanban board uses columns like ready, in progress, and done, with limits on the number of items in progress columns. It aims to reduce lead time and improve predictability by optimizing flow. Question 60. What is the primary benefit of having a shared definition of done for an Agile team? A. It eliminates the need for any further testing. B. It ensures consistency in quality and provides transparency about the completeness of work. C. It allows individual team members to define their own criteria for completion. D. It dictates the specific programming language to be used. Answer: B. It ensures consistency in quality and provides transparency about the completeness of work. A shared definition of done, DoD, creates a common understanding among the team and stakeholders about what it means for a product backlog item or increment to be truly complete and releasable. This agreement ensures a consistent level of quality, prevents misunderstandings, and provides transparency about the actual progress and state of the product. For example, if code reviewed and all automated tests passed are part of the DoD, everyone knows what done truly signifies. It sets a clear bar for quality and completeness for every piece of work. Question 61. Which of the following is not typically a responsibility of the development team in Scrum? A. Self-organizing to perform the work in the sprint backlog. B. Collaborating with the product owner on product backlog refinement. C. Defining and prioritizing the product backlog. D. Inspecting and adapting their process during the sprint retrospective. Answer: C. Defining and prioritizing the product backlog. While the development team collaborates with the product owner on product backlog refinement and estimates, the ultimate responsibility for defining, prioritizing, and ordering the product backlog rests solely with the product owner. The product owner is accountable for maximizing the value of the product, which involves making the difficult decisions about what to build and in what order. The development team is responsible for how to build it and getting the work done each sprint. Question 62. What is the most important characteristic of a good Agile user story? A. It is highly detailed and includes all technical specifications. B. It is independent, negotiable, valuable, estimable, small, testable. C. It describes the solution from a technical perspective. D. It is written by the project manager and handed down to the team. Answer: B. It is independent, negotiable, valuable, estimable, small, testable. The INVEST criteria are a mnemonic for evaluating the quality of user stories, ensuring they are well-formed and ready for development. An independent story can be delivered on its own, negotiable means it's a starting point for discussion, valuable delivers business or user value, estimable means the team can size it, small means it fits in a sprint, and testable means it has clear acceptance criteria. For example, a story like, as a user, I want to log in, is valuable and testable, while, as an admin, I want to create a database schema, is less user-focused and may not be independent. Following INVEST helps ensure stories are effective planning tools. Question 63. When should a new Scrum team create its definition of done? A. Only after the first few sprints are completed. B. At the beginning of the project, during or immediately after initial team formation. C. It is provided by the Project Management Office, PMO, and cannot be changed. D. Whenever the product owner deems it necessary. Answer: B. At the beginning of the project, during or immediately after initial team formation. Establishing a definition of done, DoD, is a critical step for a new Scrum team, as it sets the common standard for what done means for their work and product increments. It should be created collaboratively by the development team, with product owner and Scrum Master involvement, at the very beginning of the project or during their initial team formation activities. This ensures transparency, shared understanding, and a consistent quality baseline from the very first sprint, avoiding confusion and rework later on. Question 64. What is a daily Scrum primarily designed to achieve? A. A detailed status report meeting for stakeholders. B. A forum for the development team to synchronize their activities and plan for the next 24 hours. C. A long-term planning session for the product owner. D. A conflict resolution meeting for team disputes. Answer: B. A forum for the development team to synchronize their activities and plan for the next 24 hours. The Daily Scrum or Daily Stand-Up is a 15-minute, time-boxed event for the development team to inspect progress toward the sprint goal and adapt the sprint backlog as necessary. It's a quick internal synchronization meeting where team members typically share what they did yesterday, what they will do today, and any impediments they face, enabling them to self-organize and coordinate their efforts for the next day's work. For example, one developer might mention completing a task, allowing another to pull it for testing. It fosters transparency and daily adaptation within the team. Question 65. What is the concept of continuous integration in Agile development? A. Integrating the project team with the customer's organization. B. Merging code changes from all developers into a shared mainline frequently, often multiple times a day. C. Integrating all project documentation into a single repository. D. Integrating all software applications used by the project team. Answer: B. Merging code changes from all developers into a shared mainline frequently, often multiple times a day. Continuous integration, CI, is an XP practice where developers frequently merge their code changes into a central shared repository, mainline, typically several times a day. Each integration is then verified by an automated build and automated tests to detect integration errors quickly. This practice reduces integration problems, identifies defects early, and ensures the codebase is always in a working state. For example, after a developer commits a small change, a CI server automatically builds the project and runs tests to ensure nothing broke. CI is fundamental for maintaining a healthy and releasable codebase. Question 66. How does Agile project management typically approach risk management? A. Risks are identified and mitigated exclusively at the beginning of the project. B. All risks are transferred to third-party vendors. C. Risks are continuously identified, assessed, and responded to through iterative development and frequent feedback. D. Risks are ignored unless they significantly impact the critical path. Answer: C. Risks are continuously identified, assessed, and responded to through iterative development and frequent feedback. In Agile, risk management is an ongoing, integrated activity, not a separate phase. Risks are continuously identified, analyzed, and responded to throughout the project lifecycle. The iterative nature of Agile allows for early identification and mitigation of risks through short feedback loops, frequent demonstrations, and continuous adaptation. For example, if a technical risk is identified, the team might conduct a spike, short research effort, in the next sprint to address it. This proactive and continuous approach helps manage uncertainty effectively and build resilience into the project. Question 67. What is the role of a buffer in critical chain project management, CCPM? A. A contingency reserve added to each individual task. B. A safety margin added to the end of the critical chain to protect the project completion date. C. A pool of extra resources available for urgent tasks. D. A period of inactivity between project phases. Answer: B. A safety margin added to the end of the critical chain to protect the project completion date. In critical chain project management, CCPM, buffers are time duration strategically placed in the project schedule to absorb variations and protect the project's overall completion date, rather than padding individual tasks. A project buffer is placed at the end of the critical chain, the longest path of dependent tasks, considering resource availability, to protect the project finish date from delays in critical chain tasks. For example, if a project's critical chain is 100 days, a 10-day project buffer might be added. This aggregate buffer protects the entire project from common uncertainties. Question 68. Which of the following is a core value of the Agile Manifesto? A. Processes and tools over individuals and interactions. B. Comprehensive documentation over working software. C. Following a plan over responding to change. D. Customer collaboration over contract negotiation. Answer: D. Customer collaboration over contract negotiation. Customer collaboration over contract negotiation is one of the 4 core values of the Agile Manifesto. It emphasizes the importance of ongoing, active collaboration with customers and stakeholders throughout the project lifecycle, fostering a partnership based on trust and shared understanding, rather than relying solely on rigid, upfront contracts. For example, involving customers in sprint reviews provides continuous feedback and ensures the product evolves to meet their true needs. This value recognizes that the best solutions emerge from continuous dialogue and partnership. Question 69. A team using Scrum reports that their velocity has significantly increased over the last 3 sprints. What is the most likely reason for this change? A. The team has started working significantly more overtime. B. The product owner is adding more complex items to the sprint backlog. C. The team has improved its processes, collaboration, or removed a major impediment. D. The definition of done has been relaxed, leading to lower quality work. Answer: C. The team has improved its processes, collaboration, or removed a major impediment. A sustainable increase in velocity usually indicates that the development team has become more efficient and effective. This could be due to improvements identified in retrospectives, better collaboration, learning new skills, or the successful removal of a long-standing impediment by the Scrum Master. For example, automating a previously manual testing step might significantly boost their speed. While short-term spikes could be due to other factors, a consistent increase reflects genuine process maturity and improvement within the team. Question 70. What is a Scrum of Scrums meeting typically used for? A. For product owners to synchronize their product backlogs across multiple teams. B. For Scrum Masters of multiple Scrum teams to coordinate dependencies and impediments when working on a larger product. C. For all stakeholders to provide feedback on the overall product roadmap. D. For individual team members to report their progress to a central authority. Answer: B. For Scrum Masters of multiple Scrum teams to coordinate dependencies and impediments when working on a larger product. When multiple Scrum teams are working on a single, larger product, a Scrum of Scrums is an informal coordination meeting where representatives, often Scrum Masters, but sometimes also technical leads or team members, from each team meet to discuss progress, identify dependencies between teams, and resolve cross-team impediments. For example, if Team A needs a component from Team B to proceed, this meeting helps coordinate that. It helps ensure alignment and smooth integration across interdependent Agile teams without micromanaging. Question 71. What is the concept of inspect and adapt in Agile? A. Checking code for errors and fixing them immediately. B. Regularly assessing the progress and effectiveness of the product and processes, then making necessary adjustments. C. Performing a final quality audit before product release. D. A process for reviewing legal contracts. Answer: B. Regularly assessing the progress and effectiveness of the product and processes, then making necessary adjustments. Inspect and adapt is a core tenet of empiricism in Agile methodologies, especially Scrum. It means regularly examining working products, processes, and team dynamics to identify potential problems, deviations, or areas for improvement. Based on these observations, the team then makes necessary adjustments or adaptations to optimize outcomes. For example, during a sprint review, the increment is inspected, and the product backlog adapted. During a retrospective, the team's process is inspected, and adaptations are planned. This continuous cycle of learning and improvement is fundamental to Agile's success. Question 72. Which type of Agile planning typically involves a high-level view of product features for the next 6 to 12 months? A. Daily planning. B. Sprint planning. C. Release planning. D. Strategic planning, product roadmapping. Answer: D. Strategic planning, product roadmapping. Strategic planning, often referred to as product roadmapping in Agile, involves creating a high-level visual summary that maps out the product's vision, direction, and evolution over a longer time horizon, typically 6 to 12 months or even longer. It focuses on themes, epics, and high-level features rather than detailed user stories, serving as a guide for future release planning and ensuring alignment with the product vision. For example, a roadmap might show, enhance mobile experience, for Q3 next year. It provides a strategic overview without committing to precise details too far in advance. Question 73. What is the primary benefit of timeboxing in agile events like sprints and daily scrums? A. To ensure all discussions are exhaustive and complete. B. To limit waste, encourage focus, and ensure regular, predictable rhythms. C. To allow events to run as long as needed to fully resolve all issues. D. To strictly control the project budget. Answer: B. To limit waste, encourage focus, and ensure regular, predictable rhythms. Timeboxing is a fundamental practice in Agile, particularly Scrum, where each event, sprint, daily Scrum, sprint planning, sprint review, sprint retrospective, is allocated a fixed maximum duration. This practice forces focus, encourages brevity, prevents unnecessary discussions, and creates a predictable rhythm for the team. For example, a 15-minute daily Scrum ensures the team gets to the point quickly. By setting boundaries, timeboxing limits waste and ensures that progress is made efficiently within a consistent cadence. Question 74. Which role in Scrum is responsible for clarifying product backlog items to the development team? A. The Scrum Master. B. The Project Manager. C. The Development Team. D. The Product Owner. Answer: D. The Product Owner. The Product Owner is the sole authority on the product backlog, and therefore, they are primarily responsible for ensuring that product backlog items are clear, concise, and understood by the development team. This often involves collaborating with the team during product backlog refinement sessions, answering questions, and providing context so that the team can accurately estimate and implement the features. For example, if a user story is unclear, the development team would ask the product owner for clarification. The product owner bridges the gap between stakeholders and developers. Question 75. How does an Agile approach handle project baselines, scope, schedule, cost? A. Baselines are fixed at the beginning of the project and strictly controlled. B. Agile does not use baselines, planning is completely ad hoc. C. Baselines are progressively elaborated and adapt as new information emerges. D. Baselines are only updated quarterly by the PMO. Answer: C. Baselines are progressively elaborated and adapt as new information emerges. In Agile, instead of fixed baselines, project scope, schedule, and cost are treated as progressively elaborated. This means that high-level plans are made initially, but details are filled in and adjusted as the project progresses, and more is learned through iterative development and feedback. Agile embraces the reality that certainty increases over time, and plans must remain flexible to accommodate changing requirements and market conditions. For example, the product backlog evolves, and sprint backlogs provide detailed plans for short iterations, constantly adapting to new information. This flexibility ensures relevance and value. Question 76. What is the main benefit of focusing on minimum business increments, MBIs, or minimum marketable features, MMFs, in Agile product development? A. To ensure that the product is as small as possible. B. To achieve the earliest possible return on investment by delivering the smallest piece of functionality that provides significant value to users. C. To minimize the amount of documentation required. D. To build all features at once to reduce integration complexity. Answer: B. To achieve the earliest possible return on investment by delivering the smallest piece of functionality that provides significant value to users. Minimum business increments, MBIs, or minimum marketable features, MMFs, are similar concepts that refer to the smallest coherent set of functionality that delivers significant, independent business value to the customer or market. Focusing on these allows teams to release value frequently and early, gain rapid feedback, and achieve the earliest possible return on investment. For example, instead of waiting to build an entire e-commerce site, an MMF might be the ability for a user to browse products and add them to a cart. This prioritizes value delivery and learning. Question 77. Which of the following is a common practice for enhancing communication in geographically distributed Agile teams? A. Relying solely on email for all communications. B. Scheduling all meetings during specific time zones only. C. Utilizing collaboration tools, video conferencing, and promoting frequent, informal communication. D. Reducing the frequency of team meetings. Answer: C. Utilizing collaboration tools, video conferencing, and promoting frequent, informal communication. For distributed Agile teams, maintaining effective communication is crucial. Relying on collaboration tools, like Slack or Microsoft Teams, high-quality video conferencing for all meetings, and actively promoting frequent, informal interactions helps bridge the geographical gap. Teams might also implement practices like virtual co-location or always-on video channels. For example, having a dedicated chat channel for quick questions mimics hallway conversations. These strategies aim to replicate the benefits of face-to-face interaction and foster a sense of cohesion despite distance. Question 78. In an Agile project, when is the project scope considered final? A. After the initial project charter is signed. B. After the first sprint is completed. C. The scope is continuously refined and never truly final until the product is retired. D. At the time of contract signing. Answer: C. The scope is continuously refined and never truly final until the product is retired. Unlike traditional projects where scope is often fixed up front, Agile projects embrace emergent scope. The scope, represented by the product backlog, is continuously refined, reprioritized, and adapted based on new learning, market changes, and customer feedback. Therefore, the scope is never truly final in a rigid sense until the product is complete or retired. For example, new features might be added, or existing ones modified, even late in the project lifecycle if they add significant value. This flexibility allows the product to remain relevant and valuable in an evolving environment. Question 79. What is the primary role of a definition of ready door? A. To ensure the development team's capacity for the upcoming sprint is fully utilized. B. To define criteria that a product backlog item must meet before the development team can commit to it in a sprint. C. To determine when the entire product is ready for market release. D. To confirm all project risks have been identified and mitigated. Answer: B. To define criteria that a product backlog item must meet before the development team can commit to it in a sprint. The definition of ready door, while not a mandatory part of the Scrum Guide, is a common practice for Agile teams to establish a shared understanding of what constitutes a ready product backlog item. It sets clear expectations about the level of clarity, detail, and readiness an item must achieve before it can be pulled into a sprint for development, ensuring the team has sufficient information to start work effectively and avoid mid-sprint ambiguity. For example, a door might state that a user story must have clear acceptance criteria and an estimate from the team. Question 80. How do Agile teams handle long-term planning and forecasting? A. By creating a detailed, fixed plan for the entire project up front. B. By relying solely on the product owner's intuition. C. By using adaptive techniques like rolling wave planning and empirical data, e.g., velocity. D. By outsourcing all planning to a dedicated planning department. Answer: C. By using adaptive techniques like rolling wave planning and empirical data, e.g., velocity. Agile teams manage long-term planning through adaptive approaches like rolling wave planning, where detailed planning occurs for the immediate future, e.g., the next sprint, while longer-term plans are kept at a high level and progressively elaborated. They leverage empirical data, such as the team's historical velocity, to forecast release dates or the amount of work that can be delivered over a longer period, recognizing that these forecasts will become more accurate as more is learned. For example, a product roadmap might show major themes for the next year, but only the next few sprints are detailed. This balances long-term vision with short-term flexibility. Question 81. A Scrum team has completed a sprint, but the product owner decides not to release the increment to users immediately. Is this permissible in Scrum? A. No, every increment must be released at the end of each sprint. B. Yes, the product owner has the sole discretion to release the increment whenever they deem it valuable. C. Only if the Scrum Master approves the decision. D. Only if there are no bugs in the increment. Answer. B. Yes, the product owner has the sole discretion to release the increment whenever they deem it valuable. In Scrum, the product owner is responsible for maximizing the value of the product and has the ultimate authority over releasing the done increment. While the increment must always be potentially shippable at the end of each sprint, the decision of when to actually release it to users is a strategic business decision made by the product owner. For example, they might choose to accumulate several increments before a larger release, or they might release immediately. The key is that the work is always in a releasable state, providing flexibility for business decisions. Question 82. What is the triple constraint in a traditional project management context, and how does Agile relate to it? A. Scope, schedule, and budget. Agile fixes time and cost, varying scope. B. Quality, risk, and resources. Agile fixes quality, varying risk. C. People, process, and tools. Agile prioritizes people over processes. D. Communication, collaboration, and commitment. Agile emphasizes all three. Answer. A. Scope, schedule, and budget. Agile fixes time and cost, varying scope. In traditional project management, the triple constraint refers to scope, schedule, time, and budget, cost, where changes to one typically impact the others. Agile often inverts this, holding time, sprint length, and cost, team size, fixed budget per sprint, relatively fixed, while the scope, product backlog items delivered, becomes the primary variable that can be adjusted. This means that if time and cost are fixed, the team focuses on delivering the highest priority features that fit within those constraints. For example, a 2-week sprint with a fixed team size means the amount of work completed might flex, but the time and cost for that period are stable. Question 83. What is the role of continuous delivery in Agile? A. Delivering documentation continuously throughout the project. B. Ensuring that software can be released reliably at any time, not just at the end of a project. C. Delivering customer support continuously. D. Delivering all project features at once in a single release. Answer. B. Ensuring that software can be released reliably at any time, not just at the end of a project. Continuous delivery, CD, is an Agile practice where software changes are automatically built, tested, and prepared for release, ensuring that a done product can be released to production reliably and quickly at any time. It extends continuous integration by not only verifying the code but also packaging and staging it, making it ready for automated or manual deployment. For example, after every successful build, the system might automatically deploy the latest version to a staging environment for final review. This enables rapid value delivery and responsiveness to market needs. Question 84. Which of the following is a common tool used in Agile for tracking work and visualizing workflow? A. Gantt chart. B. PERT chart. C. Kanban board. D. Organizational breakdown structure, OBS. Answer. C. Kanban board. A Kanban board is a highly effective visual tool used in Agile, and Kanban specifically, to manage and track the flow of work. It typically consists of columns representing different stages of a workflow, e.g., to do, in progress, review, done, and cards, representing tasks or user stories, that move through these columns, providing a clear, real-time overview of work in progress and bottlenecks. For example, a physical whiteboard with sticky notes or a digital tool like Jira can serve as a Kanban board. It promotes transparency and helps optimize flow. Question 85. What is the benefit of co-location for an Agile team? A. It allows team members to work from different continents. B. It increases the need for formal communication channels. C. It facilitates rich, spontaneous communication and strengthens team cohesion. D. It reduces the overall project budget significantly. Answer: C. It facilitates rich, spontaneous communication and strengthens team cohesion. Co-location, where an Agile team shares a physical workspace, is highly beneficial because it significantly enhances face-to-face communication, fosters spontaneous discussions, and builds stronger interpersonal relationships. This close proximity allows for quick problem-solving, immediate feedback, and a more cohesive team environment. For example, simply overhearing a conversation might spark an idea or prevent a misunderstanding. While distributed teams are common, co-location remains the ideal for maximizing collaboration and efficiency. Question 86. When a Scrum Master identifies an impediment that the development team cannot resolve on its own, what is the Scrum Master's next step? A. Assign the impediment to the product owner to resolve. B. Report the impediment to senior management and wait for their direction. C. Take action to remove the impediment themselves or facilitate its removal by others. D. Ignore the impediment, trusting the team to eventually resolve it. Answer: C. Take action to remove the impediment themselves or facilitate its removal by others. One of the core responsibilities of a Scrum Master is to remove impediments that hinder the development team's progress and that the team cannot resolve independently. This requires proactive action, which might involve directly addressing the issue, coordinating with external stakeholders, escalating appropriately, or coaching others on how to help. For example, if the team needs a specific software license, the Scrum Master would actively work to acquire it. The Scrum Master acts as a servant leader, clearing the path for the team to focus on delivery. Question 87. What is the primary focus of adaptive planning in Agile? A. Planning every detail of the project up front and sticking to it rigidly. B. Creating plans that are flexible and continuously adjust based on feedback and new information. C. Delegating all planning responsibilities to the project manager. D. Avoiding all forms of planning. Answer: B. Creating plans that are flexible and continuously adjust based on feedback and new information. Adaptive planning is a cornerstone of Agile methodologies, recognizing that in complex environments, detailed upfront plans quickly become obsolete. Instead, it involves creating high-level plans that are refined and adjusted iteratively as the team gains new insights, receives feedback, and learns more about the product and market conditions. For example, a product roadmap provides a flexible long-term vision, while sprint planning provides detailed plans for immediate work. This approach allows for continuous course correction and ensures the project remains aligned with evolving needs. Question 88. How does an Agile team typically get feedback on their product? A. Only through formal, pre-scheduled user acceptance testing at the very end of the project. B. Through continuous interaction with stakeholders, regular demonstrations, and early user testing of increments. C. By conducting anonymous surveys after the product has been launched. D. By monitoring competitor products. Answer: B. Through continuous interaction with stakeholders, regular demonstrations, and early user testing of increments. Agile teams prioritize continuous and frequent feedback from customers and stakeholders. This happens through various mechanisms, including sprint reviews, where the done increment is demonstrated, ongoing conversations with the product owner, who represents stakeholder interests, and early user testing of small, functional increments. For example, after a sprint, the team might invite users to try out a new feature and provide direct input. This rapid feedback loop enables the team to validate assumptions, make necessary adjustments, and ensure they are building the right product. Question 89. What is the primary purpose of a risk-adjusted backlog in Agile? A. To ensure all low-priority items are removed from the backlog. B. To prioritize backlog items based on their potential value and the risks associated with them. C. To create a separate backlog for managing project risks. D. To only include items with no associated risks. Answer: B. To prioritize backlog items based on their potential value and the risks associated with them. A risk-adjusted backlog is one where the product owner, in collaboration with the team, prioritizes items not only based on their business value but also by considering the associated risks, technical, market, security, etc. High-risk items, even if not immediately the highest value, might be pulled forward in the backlog to address uncertainty early and reduce overall project risk. For example, tackling a complex integration with a third-party system early might reveal issues that could derail later development. This proactive approach helps manage uncertainty and ensures the most critical challenges are addressed first. Question 90. Which of the following is a common Agile technique for breaking down large pieces of work into smaller, more manageable parts? A. Critical Path Method, CPM. B. Work Breakdown Structure, WBS. C. Story Mapping or Epic/Feature Breakdown into User Stories. D. Resource Leveling. Answer: C. Story Mapping or Epic/Feature Breakdown into User Stories. Agile teams commonly use techniques like story mapping or breaking down large epics or features into smaller, more digestible user stories. This progressive decomposition allows the team to understand the larger scope while enabling them to plan and deliver small, valuable increments iteratively. For example, a large online shopping epic might be broken into features like product catalog, shopping cart, and checkout, and then further into user stories like, as a shopper, I want to add an item to my cart. This helps manage complexity and facilitates iterative delivery. Question 91. In the context of Agile metrics, what does cycle time measure? A. The total time spent on a project from start to finish. B. The time it takes for a single work item to move from in progress to done. C. The duration of a single sprint or iteration. D. The time spent in meetings during a week. Answer: B. The time it takes for a single work item to move from in progress to done. Cycle time is a lean and agile metric that measures the amount of time a work item spends actively being worked on, from the moment it enters a work in progress state until it is done. It helps teams understand their efficiency and identify bottlenecks in their workflow. For example, if a user story consistently takes 5 days from coding start to being shippable, its cycle time is 5 days. Reducing cycle time often correlates with improved flow and faster delivery, making it a key indicator for process improvement. Question 92. What is the role of the product owner during the sprint retrospective? A. To lead the retrospective and identify process improvements. B. To listen, observe, and provide input on process improvements from a product perspective. C. To assign new product backlog items for the next sprint. D. To review the done increment with stakeholders. Answer: B. To listen, observe, and provide input on process improvements from a product perspective. While the sprint retrospective is primarily owned by the development team and facilitated by the Scrum Master, the product owner's presence and input are valuable. The product owner participates to understand the team's challenges, offer their perspective on how processes affect product value, and learn how to better collaborate with the team. For example, they might provide insight into how communication breakdowns impacted the delivery of value. Their participation fosters a whole team approach to continuous improvement. Question 93. When should a Scrum team ideally update their sprint backlog? A. Only at the end of the sprint. B. Only during the daily Scrum. C. As new information emerges or needs change during the sprint, buy-in for the development team. D. Only if the product owner requests a change. Answer: C. As new information emerges or needs change during the sprint, buy-in for the development team. The sprint backlog is a living plan created by the development team for the current sprint. It is continuously updated by the development team throughout the sprint as they learn more about the work, identify new tasks, or refine existing ones. This adaptation happens as they progress towards the sprint goal, and it is entirely owned by the development team. For example, if a task takes longer than expected, they might break it into smaller tasks or adjust their approach, updating the sprint backlog accordingly. It reflects the team's ongoing plan to achieve the sprint goal. Question 94. What is the primary purpose of relative sizing, e.g., using story points, in Agile estimation? A. To provide precise time estimates in hours or days. B. To compare the effort of work items against each other rather than absolute time, accounting for complexity, risk, and uncertainty. C. To assign tasks to specific team members based on their skill level. D. To determine the financial cost of each feature. Answer: B. To compare the effort of work items against each other rather than absolute time, accounting for complexity, risk, and uncertainty. Relative sizing, often using story points, is an Agile estimation technique that focuses on estimating the size or effort of work items, like user stories, relative to each other, rather than attempting to provide absolute time estimates. It allows teams to account for factors beyond just time, such as complexity, uncertainty, and risk, leading to more accurate and reliable estimates over time. For example, a story estimated as 5 points is roughly twice the effort of a 3-point story. This approach leverages collective knowledge and is more resilient to unforeseen variables than strict hourly estimates. Question 95. An Agile project team has a high velocity but is consistently delivering features that users find difficult to use. What Agile value or principle is likely being overlooked? A. Individuals and interactions over processes and tools. B. Responding to change over following a plan. C. Customer collaboration over contract negotiation. D. Working software over comprehensive documentation. Answer: C. Customer collaboration over contract negotiation. If an Agile team is building features quickly but they are not user-friendly, it strongly suggests a lack of sufficient or effective customer collaboration. Agile emphasizes continuous interaction with customers to ensure the product being built genuinely meets their needs and is usable. Without this collaboration, the team might be efficient in delivering code, but not effective in delivering value. For example, involving users in early design reviews, conducting usability testing after each increment, and gathering direct feedback are crucial to building the right product. The focus should always be on delivering value to the customer. Question 96. What is the primary goal of the Investments Performance domain in PMBOK 7th edition, from an Agile perspective? A. To ensure project costs are minimized. B. To focus on delivering the most valuable outcomes and maximizing the return on investment. C. To manage all financial transactions within the project. D. To invest in new technologies for the team. Answer: B. To focus on delivering the most valuable outcomes and maximizing the return on investment. While not explicitly named investments as a separate performance domain in PMBOK 7, the spirit of value delivery, which aligns with investments in many Agile contexts, emphasizes focusing project efforts on delivering the highest possible value and maximizing the return on the organization's investment. In Agile, this means constantly prioritizing the product backlog, delivering minimum viable products, and getting rapid feedback to ensure the project continues to align with strategic business objectives and provides the most beneficial outcomes. It's about optimizing what you get for what you spend. Question 97. Which of the following best describes the concept of pull-based scheduling in Agile? A. Work is pushed to the team based on a predefined schedule. B. New work is pulled into the workflow only when there is capacity available to start it. C. Project managers pull resources from other teams as needed. D. Customers pull features from a predefined list. Answer: B. New work is pulled into the workflow only when there is capacity available to start it. Pull-based scheduling, a core principle in Kanban and often used in Scrum, contrasts with push-based systems. In a pull system, work items are pulled into the next stage of the workflow only when the downstream capacity becomes available, rather than being pushed regardless of capacity. This helps to prevent overburdening, reduce work in progress, and improve flow. For example, a developer only pulls a new task from ready for development when they complete their current task. This pull mechanism ensures that the team maintains a sustainable pace and focuses on finishing work before starting new work. Question 98. In an Agile context, what is the significance of the inspect and adapt cycle? A. It is a one-time activity performed at the beginning of the project. B. It represents the continuous feedback loop and iterative improvement process fundamental to Agile. C. It is solely focused on technical code reviews. D. It applies only to individual team member performance. Answer: B. It represents the continuous feedback loop and iterative improvement process fundamental to Agile. The inspect and adapt cycle is a cornerstone of Agile methodologies, embodying the empirical process control upon which Agile is built. It signifies a continuous, iterative process of regularly examining the product, processes, and people to identify deviations or areas for improvement, and then promptly making necessary adjustments. This ongoing feedback loop, evident in Scrum events like sprint review and retrospective, ensures the team is always learning, optimizing, and delivering the highest possible value. It's about constant learning and course correction. Question 99. What is refactoring in Agile software development? A. Rewriting the entire code base from scratch. B. Making external changes to the software's functionality based on new requirements. C. Improving the internal structure of existing code without changing its external behavior. D. Removing unused features from the software. Answer: C. Improving the internal structure of existing code without changing its external behavior. Refactoring is an Agile practice where the internal structure, design, or implementation of existing code is improved without changing its external observable behavior or functionality. The goal is to make the code cleaner, more maintainable, easier to understand, and less prone to bugs, thereby reducing technical debt and improving future development speed. For example, renaming a poorly named variable or extracting a complex method into a simpler function are acts of refactoring. It's like tidying up your kitchen to make it easier to cook, not adding new appliances. Question 100. How does Agile encourage team accountability? A. By assigning individual performance targets for each team member. B. By relying on strict top-down supervision and control. C. By fostering self-organizing teams with shared ownership for delivering increments. D. By implementing formal disciplinary actions for missed deadlines. Answer: C. By fostering self-organizing teams with shared ownership for delivering increments. Agile promotes team accountability by empowering self-organizing teams to take collective ownership of their work, from planning to delivery. Rather than individual blame, the entire team is accountable for achieving the sprint goal and delivering a done increment. This shared responsibility encourages peer support, collaboration, and a collective commitment to success, motivating the team to work together to overcome challenges. For example, during a daily Scrum, the team transparently discusses their progress towards the sprint goal, holding each other accountable as a unit.